What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Grownish. This is season 3, episode 15, and the episode is titled Over My Head. So this episode actually starts off with Zoe talking about how, when you're a baby, your little milestones, they mean so much. And we see our girl, Nomi. She is trying to video Luna. What was she trying to do? Roll over, I think. And while she's trying to film this, she gets a text from her baby daddy, aka Phil, and he says that he's back in town, and for them to meet up at their usual place. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought they were just a one night stand kind of hookup. I didn't realize they had a meetup spot. I feel like we're going into this episode acting like Nomi and Phil had some type of relationship, and that is not the story that we were told previously. But I digress. Alright, so we see Anna and Nomi. They're having a conversation. And Anna is super hype about Phil being back in town. She's like, oh great, you'll be able to meet up with him and see what type of person he is, what type of guy he is. And I'm like, okay, so now we're still going back with the storyline that Nomi doesn't even know this guy. This was a one night stand or whatever. So Nomi does not want to meet with him at all. She feels like she knows what's best for her daughter, and what Nomi thinks is that she's basically just going to raise her daughter, never tell Phil about it, because he doesn't matter within this situation. I definitely think that it's very selfish and unfair of her to think that he shouldn't know that he has a child in this world. Also considering the fact that Phil didn't do anything to Nomi, to me, so far, that was a major red flag. I can understand if he was some abusive guy or something like that. I get it. You don't want any parts with this person anymore. But he didn't do anything besides y'all hooked up and then y'all went y'all separate ways. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I will say that I did like the fact that Anna kind of called her out about it. I know you think that you're doing the best thing for your child, but in the end, I'm not sure if that's really a good idea. But let's go ahead and talk about this next scene, because I just want to talk about this little group chat where we saw the text messages coming up. And Anna is guess who's going to be the first person to meet Phil? And Nomi puts the rolling eye emoji. I love that Sky is good luck legitimizing your child. She has the best quick comebacks and crazy things to say. Oh gosh, even though Sky gets on my nerves sometimes when it comes to her sister's relationship, I do love her witty comebacks. So Joey, he ends up walking over, trying to figure out what's wrong with Zoe. And Zoe is just missing out on everything. We know the twins are about to try out for the Olympics. She's missing out on Anna meeting Phil, because it's not like Nomi's trying to meet up with him. And she just really misses, being back home. So he's like, well, I understand what you're saying, because when I go back home, I miss being on the road. And when I'm on the road, I miss being home. So let's go ahead, drink up, and, just talk. Because now they're, what do you call them? The road family or whatever? Because they're always on the road. And I'm like, okay, we'll see where this leads to. Dun, dun, dun. So, let's go ahead and talk about this next scene real quick. So, we actually got a really quick scene of Anna going to Titanium, and she meets up with Phil. And she's like, oh, hey, I'm Anna, Nomi's roommate. She didn't tell you I was coming. And he's like, no, because she didn't respond to me. So, as we know, this is Anna's way of lying to Phil, because Nomi never responded, but she's about to pretend like she was supposed to, just so that she'll be able to talk to Phil, get a gauge on the type of person that he is. And I can't even be mad at Anna for doing this, just because at the end of the day, this is all for baby Luna. So we see Vivek, Aaron, and Doug. They're all hanging out. And Doug is trying to figure out if Rochelle is going to come to this little thing that he's throwing to watch the twins run track to see, if they can make it to the Olympics. And Aaron is like, yeah, you can go ahead and count Rochelle out because she's still mad at me for telling Zoe about the Cal U thing. And here we have Vivek. He's always the first one to pipe up. He's like, how could you do that? Because you're basically telling another girl your problems when you should be telling this to your girlfriend. And I'm all here for what they're saying. But at the same time, like I've said in previous reviews, how long has Aaron been with Rochelle? Because if Aaron and Rochelle have been together for 3-4 months, get out my face with that. Because I can understand, like I've said before, if he has been with Rochelle for 8 months down the line, sure, you go to Rochelle first. But if they've only been together for 3 months, yeah, you don't really have to go to that person first. In my mind, because y'all don't really know each other like that. Of course, it's an issue because Zoe, he actually liked Zoe, and they were trying to figure out if they could be together at one point. But Zoe has known this dude for 3 years now. Rochelle, you're new. You just met him if y'all have only been together for 3-4 months. You gotta chill out, girl. So we get back to Anna, and she is questioning Phil left and right with all types of questions. Does he register Democrat or Republican and all these things? And I'm like, girl, why does it matter to you considering everyone around you is a Democrat, yet you are a Republican? But that's a whole nother story. So, it got to be overwhelming for him. So Nomi, she shows up, but by the time she got there, Phil had already left because he was done, being interrogated by Anna. So Nomi reached out to Phil, and he decided to come back. So they have a conversation, and she's like, it took me a lot of courage for me to come and talk to you. He's like, why did you need to have any courage? I just thought you didn't want to, hang out. And the last time that we hung out, it was a really good time. And she's like, well, what was so good about it considering it was a bunch of tequila shots and basically them hooking up? And he's like, well, there were some things in between. And she's like, okay, well, what was in between? So I'm like, okay, so Nomi was clearly really drunk and she doesn't even remember what happened. So now I'm even more confused about this entire Nomi and Phil situation. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about Aaron and Rochelle. So he ends up meeting up with Rochelle and reading off a list of embarrassing things about himself. And she's like, what is this? Why are you telling me this? And he's like, these are things that I have never told anyone. So now you have a full list in your hand of things that nobody knows about Aaron. And he realized that, Rochelle does have a problem with his friendship with Zoe. So now he's taking that into consideration. He lets her know that she is his priority. And clearly they are now on good terms because she starts kissing him and things are all good. All right, so our girl Zoe, she is, trying to do her job, and every time she walks into a room, everybody just kind of looks at her, and she's like, what the heck is going on? So she goes into the room with Indigo, and Indigo is like, oh, look at you, basically trying to call her out about hooking up with Joey. And Zoe is like, wait, what? I did not do any of those things. I was just talking to this man, basically. And Indigo is like, well, you came off of his tour bus at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's the only thing that should be, popping off at 3 o'clock in the morning, as we already know. And Zoe is like, no, he's my boss. I would never do that type of thing. She's like, everybody is on his bus till 3 o'clock in the morning, even you. And that's when Indigo lets the cat off the bag that, yeah, because she's sleeping with Joey. So now Zoe is like, wait, so now everyone, thinks that we both are sleeping with Joey? Like, I don't want that type of reputation with this tour family. And Indigo is like, girl, this is not your family. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, the fact that Indigo tried to call Zoe out about this and they're messing around with the same dude, I'm like, this energy is not matching. Because I would think that Indigo would be like, so you hooked up with Joey, like, that's my man. Because I feel like that's the vibe that I get from her character. And secondly, wasn't it other people on the bus? Like, am I tripping? There was definitely other people on the bus when they were sitting there drinking. Like, did they all just kind of pile on out? I'm so confused. Like, also, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, like, where was the bus stationed for him to still be on the bus? Like, were they supposed to be, like, in a hotel room? Or were they traveling to the next city? I'm confused. So Indigo, she actually kind of flips it on Zoe, and she's like, you're supposed to be like this professional woman, and you didn't carry yourself like one. And I'm like, but Zoe didn't do anything, so how are you just going to assume that she didn't carry herself like a professional woman? Like, are you kidding me? Like, yes, Zoe is working for Joey, but I feel like at this point they do have a friendship outside of her just being his stylist. Like, Indigo really did aggravate me in this scene. Another part that aggravated me was when Indigo said, oh, well, you need to grow up or you need to get out. And I'm like, what did Zoe do that was childish? Like, I'm trying to figure out what did she do exactly. Like, she was there on the tour bus with other people. Her and Joey were, having a drink together. And okay, I get it. Maybe you're not supposed to drink with your boss or whatever. But like I said, at this point, she's been working with Joey for some time now. They have a friendship at this point. So she gets off his bus at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm pretty sure she's not the only person who, came off the bus. And you're going to sit up here and tell her to grow up? Really, Indigo? When you sit up here and act like a child all the time? Okay. Alright, so now we have Nomi. She is with Phil, and Phil surprised her with like a cupcake with some candles on it, basically recreating a scene from the movie 16 Candles, which is a movie, oh my gosh, I've seen so many times, for when I was like obsessed with Molly Ringwald. Let me know if you guys have ever seen 16 Candles, but anyways, so they recreate this, and he's like, yeah, this is one thing that you asked for the last time that they were together. And he's like, yeah, we did this, and then you also kind of cried and sobbed about, breaking up with some old lady, because as we know, she was dating her old professor. So next thing you know, before she can even let him know that, she has a child with him, because I feel like that's where this conversation was going, he ends up kissing her, and next thing you know, they start making out. So clearly she was not able to tell him that they have a child together. So we then see her having a conversation with Luca. She's there to relieve him from babysitting Luna. And I'm just like, girl, you just let anybody watch your baby. I have seen Junior with your child, now Luca. Like, anybody can watch baby Luna. So Luca, I'm actually glad to see him, because I feel like we have not seen him since the show has come back, and him and Jillian were out here playing The Floor is Lava. So that was a few episodes ago. Good to see him back. He's just, calling Nomi out, like, you hooked up with him again, but you never told him that he has a child. So at this point, you can't even see him again, because now you're withholding information. And Nomi is like, yeah, I probably shouldn't see him again. Why should I try to hold him back from his life? He has all these plans. And I'm like, well, hold on, girl, because you had plans at one point, You guys are equally this baby's parents. So now we have Luca. He's over here convincing Nomi that the best thing for Luna is for her not to tell. Like, for her not to tell Phil, hey, I have a child with you. Because in his mind, he's like, having 3 parents, that's just going to be too much for me. And I don't want to argue with anybody about sleep training. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot. Like, Luca, when did you become this child's parent? Please let me know when you became the dad. Even though, gosh, that would have been a good plot twist. If Nomi would have hooked up with Luca and then they had a baby, whoo, that would have been a good plot twist. But I guess, the show's not going to go there. Alright, so we actually get a really quick scene next of Zoe. She has packed up her things and she is leaving the tour or whatever they were doing. And I'm so confused as to why what Indigo said about her needing to grow up, like, that completely affected her into quitting her job. Like, Zoe, why did you quit? Like, you could have a discussion with Joey and be like, hey, so there's this rumor that me and you were sleeping together because I left your tour bus at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, that is what everybody here is thinking. Like, could you at least, speak up and say, hey, that's not what went down? I don't understand how that was not her first intention, but to run home and be like, oh, I need to grow up, but let me go back to Cal U and be with my friends. Like, no. First of all, can we stop acting like Cal U is a place of, like, virtue for Zoe? It bothers me that she still does things at Cal U. It bothers me that she always reverts to calling things Cal U this, Cal U that. Like, girl, you share a house with some Cal U students, yes, but you don't attend that school. You dropped out a while ago. There's no need for you to try to attend that school's events. Like, your house isn't even on campus. Like, come on, you shouldn't even go to Titanium. Let's call a thing here. But like I said, Zoe, she's gonna go home. Joey does tell her that, whenever she's ready to come back, she can come back and work. And I'm like, okay, well, at least, y'all not ended on bad terms. But I just don't understand how she never had a discussion about what was said about her to Joey. She just, at the drop of a dime, decided, well, I'm just going to quit my job because I need to grow up. How does that make any sense? So it is the big day, aka the twins are trying out for the Olympics today. And, Doug has all these people at the house that he don't even live at, but we not even gonna go there. So he has all these people at the house, to watch the twins run. And next thing you know, we have Aaron. He goes up to Zoe's room. He's like, hey, I just want to talk to you for a second. I'm not here to stay. I'm with Rochelle and she's uncomfortable with our friendship. So I'm going to go ahead and step back. I'm just going to fall back from it. And Zoe's like, oh, okay, yeah, I totally understand, you falling back from our friendship. I see that she spoke to you as well. So now he's like, wait, what do you mean spoke to me too? Like, what do you mean, you mean to tell me that Rochelle spoke to both of us? Like, Rochelle said something to you? So now Zoe is like, yeah, she did. And he's like, well, why didn't you, come to me and tell me that she said something? And Zoe is right. It's like, what would I look like coming up to you being like, hey, your girlfriend tried to call me out and say that we can't be friends anymore? Like, that would be an even more awkward conversation. So now Aaron is feeling some type of way because he feels like if Zoe is my friend, she should be able to say, like, hey, Rochelle said something to me. And he's like, well, it's not like there's something going on between the two of us. So then Zoe, she's like, well, at the beginning of the semester, I told you that I wanted to be with you. But I'm like, hold on, little girl. Hold on. And yes, I'm about to call her little girl, because this episode, I don't know how Zoe has progressed in previous episodes, and then she's been taken down like 5 notches within this one episode. Okay, so when he's saying, like, there's nothing going on between us, there is nothing going on between him and Zoe at the moment. Like, once she found out that he had a girlfriend and that he didn't want her to play with his heart anymore, that was pretty much it. Like, they were cool, but that was it. Like, he has not made any more moves to try to get with her. She hasn't made any more moves to try to get with him. I mean, even when it came to them collaborating together to come up with those little orange jumpsuits, nothing transpired out of that situation besides Rochelle catching an attitude. So for her to go back to them professing their love for one another, or whatever that was at the beginning of the semester, I'm like, girl, there's no way you're still holding on to that. But to my surprise, she confesses that, she's in love with Aaron. And I said, oh, that's what we doing? Now we really, this was like, shocker, I guess. This is what we're doing? That Zoe is in love with Aaron now? I'm like, all right, okay, this is what we doing. So we cut from that scene to everybody in the living room watching the twins because their race is finally coming up. So as they, start to run, we jump back to Zoe and Aaron arguing at this point, because she's like, how was I supposed to know 1 month after you kissed me, you will be dating somebody else? So I'm like, ooh, look at this. We're finally getting a timeline. So Aaron has only been with Rochelle, it seems like, for a couple of months, because if Zoe was gone for like a month, yeah, he's only been with her for like a couple of months. Okay, got it. So after that whole thing, Aaron ends up kissing Zoe, and I'm like, okay, so now we're making a move towards this Zoe and Aaron thing, I guess. Now, this is where the show pissed me off, because they're literally trying to run 3 storylines at the same time, and it was very annoying, because we have the Aaron and Zoe thing running, then we also have the Sky and Jazz Olympic trials running and everybody watching them, and then they threw in Nomi and her baby daddy drama. I'm like, listen, I need for y'all to complete scenes and not try to run all 3 at the same time. That would really make me happy. Alright, so let me go ahead and try to break these 3 little storylines down. So Zoe and Aaron, they're like fully making out. Clearly they're probably going to hook up, and we're going to see the aftermath of that in the next coming episode. I'm ready to see that, because I already know Rochelle, yeah, she probably definitely going to feel some type of way if her and Aaron just magically break up out of nowhere, because they just got back on good terms. Now, when it comes to baby Luna's parents, Nomi ends up meeting up with Phil again, and she has to let him know that this is his daughter, and he's completely shocked. He's taken aback, but I definitely feel like Phil, he's going to be a good dad. He's going to come around. I don't see him just leaving Nomi high and dry. All right, so when it comes to the twins, one of them made it and one of them didn't. So Sky made it to the Olympics, and unfortunately Jazz did not. The part that really bothered me about this is that, first of all, couldn't Jazz have ran in another category? Because if anyone knows people who like run track, a lot of them compete in multiple in multiple categories. For example, you can run the 100 meter, you can run the 200 meter, like you can run different races. And maybe she didn't qualify in that race, but she could have qualified in another race. Sorry, that's just my thought process. Also, the fact that Sky, she basically gets to have everything that she wants, while Jazz, everything has been taken from her. And what I mean by that, Sky got to have a boyfriend. She got to, still run track, still got to go out, still got to live her entire life fully, while Jazz had to live with all these limitations, not have a boyfriend, went through the drama of, hooking up with some other random guy, and she still didn't make it to the Olympics. Like, Jazz has gotten the shortest end of the stick this entire season. And I feel some type of way about it. It was very awkward to see the guys sitting together, because you have Rodney, his girl made it. He can't even really get that hype because he don't want to, throw it in Doug's face that Jazz didn't make it. So Doug is definitely feeling some type of way because Jazz, she didn't make it to the Olympics. And that's a big deal. Like, I really wish that they would have pushed more for that storyline, because a person making it to the Olympics is a big deal. Like, let's not act like that's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? But that was the episode. Let me know what you guys thought about it, and I will talk to you in the next one. Please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one, guys. Bye.